Alright, here we go. So guys, just gotta send the link over, so give me a quick second. So let me just get everything sorted on my end. Whew, man. Alright, let me actually turn on the AC. It's actually hot right now. Alright. Oh my god, my voice. Oh my god, what's going on? Yeah, that wasn't sexy just then. I'm sorry, guys. Alright. Damn, my voice is just messed up today. What's going on? Alright, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome back to SRM ESPORTS as we're here for Season 4, Round 16 of the Mexican Grand Prix. I'm your commentator, Just Gaming, also known as Justin, whichever way you guys prefer. And it's going to be difficult here today at the Mexican Grand Prix. A very difficult track to get right, especially through those S's in Sector 2. Of course, as we are now seeing Mogi exit out of the pit lane. We're going to stay on board with them, and we're going to actually follow him up as we give ourselves a brief description about where we are here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Formula 1 Gran Premio de la Ciudad de Mexico 2022, presented by SRM Esports, as we are here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. 17 corners actually make up the circuit, and also the first ever Grand Prix back at the track was actually in 1963, but of course how it is laid out here today wasn't exactly how it was laid out at the beginning of, well, basically when they first opened up their doors. So it looked a lot different from back then, but looks like it's been improved actually since the beginning, and especially with the stadium sector, it makes it very safer for the drivers in the old F1 cars here today. But we're gonna go on board with Mogi as he's currently out there on the set of softs, and we'll actually be looking at setting the standard here today. And let's actually get a brief description. Actually, let's get an onboard description with Mogi. So as he makes his way down towards turn 1, opens the DRS, the longest straight on the F1 calendar here today, ladies and gentlemen. As he makes his way towards the first chicane. Turn 1, 2, and 3, as he then goes on the throttle once again. Continuation of that first DRS zone as he scrapes into Sector 2 towards Turn 4. So far, a good time, 28.5 for the Williams driver, as he's now able to go towards Turn 5. And then this double apex right-hander here of Turn 6. Very easy to lose it, especially if you hit those curves. Got to watch out for it. But comes the most difficult parts of Turn 7, 8, now 9, and then 10, and then turn 11. As you then go on the throttle once again. Well, you pretty much go on the throttle throughout the entirety of that section. As you now enter the stadium sector, all of the fans from around the world here today, of course, are representing Mexico here with the Mexican flags bordered across the stadium. As Mogi goes towards the timing line, and he puts a 1:16.5 to set the standard here today. Very good time there, as we're going to be waiting on a few more drivers to make their way through to improve on their times and see where they set themselves up for the race start. But, ladies and gentlemen, wait, what's this? Oh, sorry, I just received this, my bad. Just received the message, don't worry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We're all good on that one. But, yeah, Mogi still holds on to provisional pole. One of 3 drivers to complete it, Kittle as well as Polsgobol, when he's hoping to improve on his lap time there. But only a few more races left in the season here, ladies and gentlemen. where we have the Mexican Grand Prix here today on round 17. Then we have 18 of Azerbaijan next week, and then we're going to be ending off the season at Austria on the 29th of June. Of course, right as the new game of F1 22 will be coming out as well. So very excited to see how the drivers find the new game on that one. What's the championship standings looking like? I was actually just about to go to there, Alicia, so thanks for reminding me on that one. For the championship standings, after round 15... Oh, sorry, not today's round 16, sorry. So, round 15, after the Dutch Grand Prix, Michael F1 still leads the way in the championship with 296 points. Then we have RSI Markey with 261 points in second, with F1 Farth in third with 204 points. Then we have Dundrees in fourth, Grimmy in fifth, Battle Z Mini in sixth, with Dopey Lemons in seventh. Richard and Steve, the two Mercedes, right next to each other. Richard with 118, Steve with 115. We have tied for 10th place with Angry Dutch Guy as well as Stead. Angry Dutch Guy would be in 11th, but was able to bag in that extra point at his home Grand Prix after having a pretty good race, actually. So he's going to slot right in there. We also have Andy Smokesmith with 91 points in 12th. Tomo Tip Top Mogi has J-Tac, Wolsey, Kittle, Polesgot Bowl, and then Slate's PT rounds up the top 20. So yeah, so pretty close in the season. We're going to be mainly watching out for RSI Markey, who currently actually has no front wing on that car. So it looks like he had a bit of a incident out there on the track. We're also going to be waiting on Michael F1 as he is now exiting out of the pit lane here. So we're going to stay on board with our championship leader. But I'm actually going to be right back. I'm going to give myself a drink because my voice is just so messed up right now. Give me a second, guys, as we stay on board with Michael F1. Alright, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back now. Just got myself my drink. Don't know what that was, to be honest with you. But Michael F1, of course, trying to defend his driver's championship, of course, in a very difficult track that we find ourselves here today. Currently with the purple sector 1 for Michael F1. So let's stay on board with him as he now makes his way around the track now towards the S's, where he's going to be fighting against a lot on the track. Looks like two people have already taken early leaves of Slater as well as Stead. And looks like Michael F1 has actually messed up through the S's. We actually also saw Grimmy earlier with a 1:15.8 for his lap there, as he might be looking at going back into the pit lane. A few more drivers making their way out there on the track, but a little bit confused about what the plan is here with Michael F1, if he's going to go out for another lap here, as Tomo has had himself an accident. We're going to go on board with his teammate of Dundrees to see the damage. We saw a little snippet off of Kittle, but yeah, right there, right into the wall for the McLaren driver, as Tommo Tiptop will be starting at the back of the grid. So very unfortunate there, very, very unfortunate. Hopefully he's okay in that car, to be honest with you, because that must have been a heavy hit, especially with those S's. Very, very difficult to get right. As Michael then invalidates on his lap time. So looks like the championship leader really struggling here in Mexico. So we're gonna have to see how he manages for the rest of the qualifying sessions. Oh my lord, I don't know what's wrong with my voice. My voice was perfectly fine earlier, I think. Crap. Jesus, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. But we're gonna stay on board with Kittle. He's currently up on his time coming into Sector 2. And let's actually give you guys a brief description about the track, about where we are. So, back in 1959, the father of Mexico's most famous racing brothers, Ricardo and Pedro Rodriguez, was an advisor to Mexican President Adolfo Lopez Mateo, and had a word in his boss's ear about building a racing circuit in Mexico City's Magdalena Mixhuica Sports Park using the existing internal roads. El Presidente liked the idea and worked on the track, and then the track was actually completed within under a year as well. So a bit different for the like a lot of constructions, where it usually takes years, maybe even over 10 years to just fix a highway. But yeah, they were able to do it under a year, so that's very, very commendable, especially during those times. But also, Formula 1 cars actually arrived in 1962 for a non-championship race, then returning the following year for a proper Grand Prix. That the 1963 race was won by Jim Clark. While for the first few years, Mexico's Fiesta vibes meant it became the traditional season ender of Formula 1, where then Mexico was welcomed back onto the Formula 1 calendar back in 2015. So a lot of different changes over the field when it comes down to Mexico. Actually, Mexico, as I just said there, actually had a little bit of a hiatus, like a long distance of having like off. Sorry, I'm having a huge stroke. I'm so sorry, guys. The Mexican Grand Prix was actually off the Formula 1 calendar for quite a long time, and it was due to the safety of the track. So it was actually off the calendar for two occasions. One of them was when the track actually looked a lot different from what it does look like now. So if you guys look on the bottom right of the map in Sector 3, right at that 3, you see how it turns up into the castle sector. The stadium sector. It wasn't actually always like that. What it used to be just a whole straightaway and then a long sweeping right-hander down towards the finish line. But a lot of drivers really struggled to keep the grip through that corner, and a few drivers actually lost their lives. And it's not only because they lost the grip because of the tires actually being hot, but here in Mexico City, the track is actually 2 kilometers above sea level. So the track is actually, like, the air is a little bit thinner higher up, and it actually makes it a lot more difficult for the drivers to actually keep the traction down. So that's why in real life these cars would have like severely high downforce setups for the drivers out there. But of course, we're actually going to go on board with Grimmy here. So he's actually starting a new fast lap. So let's see how Grimmy can do. And I think the championship could potentially be decided here today, ladies and gentlemen. So just to give you guys a brief run-up about the standings, once again, between Michael and Markey, where Michael F1 is currently with 296 points, Markey currently with 261. So separated by 35 points. if Michael F1 gets a race win here today, and Marquis is completely out of the points, I believe Michael F1 would actually take the championship. Because if he wins, he'll get another 25 points, so that would be 60 points. And with after this race only two races left in the season, Marquis can actually win both of those races, and it mean absolutely nothing. So this could be the championship decider here today, ladies and gentlemen. But as we have a few more people making their way in, I just want to welcome everybody to SRM ESPORTS as we're here for Season 4, Round 16 of the Mexican Grand Prix. Commentator myself, Justin, as we only have less than 3 minutes left of qualifying, and a lot of these drivers actually fighting against the elements here today of a very, very, very difficult track. Actually right ahead of Grimmy. He's actually, sorry. Right behind Grimby, it's actually going to be Pablo Juarez, and I was actually in a party with him earlier, and he was actually really struggling here today. So this will be, if he keeps it within track limits, this will be his first actually, his first finished lap, and we're gonna have to keep an eye on him to see exactly what sort of times we're gonna be seeing from the Williams driver. Of course, Pablo Juarez trying to rack himself up in the standings. I believe, if I can find him very quickly, Pablo Juarez is currently in, if I can find him. How come I can't find him? Where's Pablo Juarez? I actually can't find Pablo Juarez's name. I'm sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, because it shows Woolsey and Mogi. So I think Pablo Juarez is actually reserving for Woolsey here today. So let's see how the reserve driver can do, the reserve driver of the Williams, as he now makes his way towards the timing line and validates it around the final corner, and that's going to be his qualifying over. And we're also seeing Dundrees have himself a little bit of a slow run up towards the stadium sector, going to warm up those tires and get himself ready for his new lap. Michael as well as Markey are out there right now. Markey actually right ahead of Steve, I do believe. So Steve and Markey, of course, good friends off and on the track. So we're actually going to see how close these drivers give it, as Markey is currently up on his time, 97 thousandths coming into Sector 2. So we could be seeing a 114 potentially. Of course, Markey battling out for the Drivers' Championship with Michael F1. So let's see what the second place runner can do for the time being, as he goes into the wall, spins out in uncontrollably, and that is going to be his qualifying over at this point. Michael F1 now has his teammate of Grimmy up ahead, but this is the thing as well, you don't actually want to start on the front row in this track unless you know that you can have an extraordinary start off of the grid. The only thing is, you don't really want to start in that front row, because that second row is going to be optimal for these drivers. Getting down on the throttle, getting that slipstream down towards turn 1, where they can then shoot it onto the inside and take an early lead of the race. We also see F1 Farth ahead, who has invalidated, so he's actually going to be starting at the back of the grid with Tomo. And Michael F1 was up by 3/10 coming into Sector 2. Let's see if he's improved in these S's down towards Sector 3 here. And he's still up by 3.5 tenths. So let's see if Michael F1 can land himself in pole position. Let's see. Only a few more corners left. 3 more corners. Now to 16. And the final corner, hated by a lot of drivers, 17, as he hugs that right side and sprints towards the timing line. He has actually lost a tenth in that final sector. However, he still gets a good enough time for pole position of 1:15.149 for the championship leader. Grimmy played a huge role in that by giving him slipstream down towards turn 1. Mogi invalidates his lap time. Same goes with Steve. Richard is currently up on his time, so we could be seeing him making his way past his teammate. So as he hugs that left side, you kind of want to hug that inside wall as you make your way through. He does improve, but not enough to gain a position. Woolsey invalidates on his lap time as well. And that is going to be it for qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. Michael F1 and Markey lining up like how they have it on the championship standings. Michael F1 starting in pole position with Markey in second. Dundrees with a good time there. Kiddo as well in fourth, and Grimmy starting in fifth, sharing that that third row with Mogi. So good lap times all around. Everyone on the top 10 will be starting on a set of softs. So we're gonna see how long those softs can push. But with that being said as well, ladies and gentlemen, we are just gonna be seconds underway from the race start. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna be right back after going down the grid. So an amazing qualifier to kick things off once again, ladies and gentlemen. Michael F1 with a 1:15.149 as he lines up on the front row with RSI Markey. Big competitors here in SRM Esports and rivals for the Drivers' Championship. Could be decided here today. We're going to have to wait and see. As Dundrees and Kittle line up in that second row with Grimmy and Mogi just behind. For the rest of the top 10, we have Steve, Richard, Angry Dutch Guy, as well as Woolsey. All will be starting on a set of softs. Then after that, we have Polsga Bowl, Slater SPT, Louis, Stead, Pablo Juarez, Tomo Tip Top, and F1 Farth. And that's going to line up the grid for the race start. Let's get our way to the 5 red lights. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back actually, and it looks like we're not going to be having a dry race start. It is going to be a wet race start here today, ladies and gentlemen. What an absolute change, as it's been a while since we've seen a wet race here in Mexico, and it's going to be a full wet, no intermediates going to be used on the starting grid. Those puddles going to be very prominent to those drivers, so I think now actually starting on that front row is actually going to help. So let's see how these drivers are going to be managing against the wet race, and it's going to be very, very difficult for them to get on the traction, as we now have a few seconds until these drivers put on their setups. But as these drivers will be making their way around the circuit, I do believe, we're actually going to be looking at some Formula 1 news, just to keep you guys up on the news of Formula 1 actually. So, yep, everyone on the set of wets, so a bit of a mixed start, well, not a mixed start, it's going to be a mixed race from what it looks like. But just to give you guys a little bit of a, little bit of news, so there's been some recent news of Mercedes saying that they are privileged to be in the title fight, says Toto Wolff, as he vows to throw everything at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Also, Bottas may not have had his best day in Mexico last season, but it's not his fault. Hamilton didn't win the race as well, so a lot of controversy from last season on that one. George Russell says that Mexico was toughest afternoon he has had all season, from last season as well. And there's actually a lot of drivers here that are going to be testing against the limits. But of course, if you guys are interested in actually watching the real life Mexican Grand Prix, it will take place on the race weekend of October 28th through to October 30th. So as always, October 28th, practice 1 and 2, October 29th, practice 3 and qualifying, and then we'll be having the race on the 30th, rounding off the month. So as Michael gets those tires nice and warmed up, it looks like we actually had a Mercedes have himself a little bit of an issue. Trying to see who that was. And it's going to be Richard, who has had himself a little bit of an issue on those set of softs. So I'm not sure what happened to him there, but he's going to be starting in that 8th row right next to his teammate. But we're going to be potentially looking at a one stop here today. Of course, in the wet weather, no mandatory pit stops whatsoever. But in these sort of conditions, you're going to have to make at least one pit stop, especially if it switches to the dry compounds. But with that being said as well, ladies and gentlemen, we are just seconds underway for the 5 red lights. Then we will have the green flag to start the Mexican Grand Prix here for Season 4, Round 16 of the Mexican Grand Prix. As we wait for the drivers to line up in their positions, everyone ready to go on the throttle. As Steve looks like he got himself out of disqualified from the formation lap, so he's going to be having some cold tires, and especially in these sort of conditions, it's going to be difficult. But as the red lights start to diminish, we have seen an amazing start here from Michael F1, as he now leads ahead of RSI Markey, but he's actually giving RSI Markey a little bit of slipstream as he's trying to defend down towards turn 1. We also see Dundrees looking around the outside potentially, as Michael F1 has been pushed off the track, rejoins with a 5-second time penalty due to corner cutting. I believe he was bumped by RSI Markey, so I'm not too sure exactly what happened there. We've also seen both of the Alfa Romeos have themselves some issues. Kittle down towards P17. Michael F1 is now battling side to side with Dundrees, coming up towards turn 5 here for the Ferrari as he's squeezed off the track by Dundrees. Gotta give the space here, guys. Gotta give the space, as he's really squeezing him around the outside. Michael F1 is still going to be fighting as they're going to go side to side through these S's. Very difficult to get right. Michael F1 gives plenty of space. Dundrees still making himself known, as Michael F1 then goes on the throttle, and he's going to retake that second place. That's going to give Mogi the opportunity to make the move on Dundrees, and Mogi is still trying to fight it out. And Dundrees just completely pushes Mogi off the track there. But Mogi now makes the dive on the inside in the stadium sector, and he's able to take into P3. But ending lap 1 is going to be RSI Markey taking the race lead. With if it was a bump, it might have been controversial for that 5 seconds. However, it looks like it's pretty good. But Poe's got ball. Looks like he had himself an issue. Same goes with Pablo Juarez. From what it looks like, both of them potentially trying to go into the pit lane on the same time. Virtual safety car, then upgraded to a full safety car here, as we have the first incident of the evening. Wow. Didn't take that long, to be honest with you guys. Did not take that long. Surprising, actually. But, it's just going to be difficult. I'm going to tell you guys, it's going to be difficult, especially in these wet conditions. As I'm looking at some messages, sorry about that. But yeah, it's going to be very difficult in these wet conditions, especially through those S's. I believe Michael F1 might be going into the pit lane to get those 5 seconds deducted from his times. We're going to have to wait and see what his plan is here. Of course, everyone on the set of wets could be seeing some people test out the set of intermediates, but does not look to be the case, as the rain is building up on the track, and with those wet conditions, going to make it very difficult to find the grip. So we're going to have to wait and see about what happens on this one. But as we do have the safety car, Pablo Juarez actually hit with a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car period. So he's going to have to get that fixed, as Michael F1 does go into the pit lane to serve those 5 seconds. So this has actually benefited RSI Markey heavily here, as he was able to take the race lead. And now with Michael F1 with a time penalty, we'll be looking at getting keeping that race lead until the end. We're going to have to wait and see on for him there on that one. But just to give you guys a bit of a description about like the history of the Mexican Grand Prix, where of course it was first held in 1962 on the newly built Magdalena Mixhuca circuit in Mexico City, named after the city park where it was located, which would host track cycling, field hockey, basketball, and fencing during the Summer Olympics in 1968. On the second year of 1963, the race became part of the Formula One World Championship and was won for the second time in succession by Jim Clark. Sadly, it wasn't long before the Mexican Grand Prix lost its place on the calendar, mainly as a result of its own popularity. The organizers were unable to control the 200,000 spectators flocking to the event each year, making it dangerous for the drivers. The last event for 16 years was won by Jackie Ickx in 1970 for the Ferrari team, where then the track then rejoined the F1 calendar back in 1986, but instead at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, as the track was redesigned and renamed after Ricardo and Pedro Rodriguez, local racing brothers who lost their lives in racing incidents. Still featuring the fearsome banked final corner Aparatada, the circuit proved popular with drivers despite the very bumpy surface, and then the Mexican Grand Prix produced some exciting racing during this period, but once again fell from favor, where the organizers weren't able to come up with the funds required to modernize the circuit, and Mexico City's terrible pollution didn't help with that either. But then after that, again, after a 23-year hiatus, Formula One returned to Hermanos Rodriguez in 2015, where the circuit was comprehensively redesigned by Herman Tilke ahead of F1's return, where the main change saw a slow-speed stadium section added, cutting off half of the infamous Perotada final corner. The race has then been strongly supported by local fans with sellout crowds, where in August 2019 a new deal was announced, which secured the future of the event until at least 2022, where the race was cancelled in 2020 due to the coronavirus pandemic, where then in 2021 the event was given the new official title of Mexico City Grand Prix, emphasizing the support from the local government. Attendance at the 2021 event grew to 372,000 spectators, which was up by around 30,000 from the last event in 2019. Attendance figures were boosted by home hero Sergio Perez's move to Red Bull, where the Mexican driver finished on the podium in the race, becoming the first Mexican to score a podium result on home soil. And of course, recently actually had a... Wait, what's going on with Louis here? Not too sure what's going on with Louis at the moment, as he's having a little bit of a glitch fest for the man, as he was getting overtake after overtake. So not too sure what's going on with him, as he's currently ghosted. So we're gonna have to wait and see what's happening with Louis, as he was able to get a lot of I believe illegal overtakes. So I'm not entirely too sure. But of course I'm talking about Mexico, and Sergio Perez, where he actually won this year's Monaco Grand Prix. And it was a good sight to see after having to give up the position to his teammate of Max Verstappen at the Spanish Grand Prix at Barcelona, Catalunya. But then, in addition to Formula One, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez also hosts an annual Formula E race in the Mexico City's Prix, and I don't know what's going on here with the glitches. Grimmy going off the track to give positions from what it looks like. I'm not too sure about what's happening here. With the safety car restart, Stead and Grimmy, looks like them two are glitched in who should stay ahead. From what it looks like it's gonna be Grimmy, but Louis now up to P4 under the safety car period, so I'm not entirely too sure what's going on. If someone in the chat can let me know, please. Steve has just messaged in the chat. Yep, good to see you, my man. Yeah, very unfortunate with that spin. I'm not too sure exactly what happened there. I was going through some of the news of the Mexican Grand Prix and the history of it. But yeah, Steve, do you know what's going on with Louis? He's currently ghosted, and he has been ghosted for the entirety of the formation, what's it called, the safety car period, as we should be receiving from race control any minute now. Right as I say it, safety car is now in this lap, but Steve, if you can let me know about what's potentially happening with Louis. But with that being said, we're now going to go on board with Mogi here, who's going to be having the safety car restart and slowing down the pack, making it nice and compact as he now comes around the final few corners, waiting for the safety car to enter the pit lane here. So, the safety car is now in this lap, and Marquis is now going on the throttle around the final corner as he now makes his way into the lead once again, and currently in the lead by a substantial amount as Dundrees has himself a crash around that final corner. Michael F1 looks like he had some issues on that safety car restart as both Pablo Juarez goes into the pit lane and Dundrees crashes out around that final corner. We're now also seeing the two Alfa Romeos going side to side. Looks like Kittle moves up into P10. We're now seeing the ghosted Louis. Still, I don't know what's happening with Louis here. I don't know if he disconnected or not, but if he did, he's gonna have to rejoin as soon as possible. As we can see, right ahead of him, F1 Fard looking to get the switch back on Angry Dutch Guy here, but Angry Dutch Guy just not able to make any sort of moves. We see a yellow flag, I believe, due to Tombo Tip Top. No, it's gonna be Woolsey actually, who's had himself a little bit of a spin. Michael F1 now moving up into P12. Grimmy now hit with a 3-second time penalty due to corner cuts, and that's going to bring out the virtual safety car. Wait, why is there a virtual safety car? Maybe a buildup of debris. Let's actually see. So Pablo Juarez, he looks perfectly fine. Oh, there's the reason. Woolsey without any front wing, buildup of debris on turn 5 and 6, and I'll be inching his way back into the pit lane, and we'll be getting a new front wing and a new set of tires. But let's see now, as Marquis is actually still looking pretty good on for the Red Bull team, still leading the way. If it stays like this, he'll be right behind Michael F1 by just around 10 points. We could be seeing a last-ditch effort from the Red Bull team, like how we saw at the real-life Mexican Grand Prix, where we saw Max Verstappen take the race win and close the gap between him and Lewis Hamilton even further at that point. But right now, it's just going to be very, very difficult for all of these drivers to just find the grip. But now the green flags have been shown. Woolsey's in the pit lane as Michael F1 makes the move on the inside of Slater up towards turn 4 and 5, as Slater is now into P12. Michael F1 currently right behind Tip Top as Dundrees disconnects due to the crash on the safety car restart. Got a feel for the man. He hasn't really had a good few races lately. And you can see, you can actually just hear by Michael F1 just how easy and how calm you gotta be on that throttle. Don't want to push a little bit, you don't want to push too much. But Tomo Tip Top now defending against Michael F1 here, who Michael F1 actually got a purple sector 2 on that lap. And not too sure if we're actually seeing the weather start to ease off a little bit. From what it looks like, it's still piss pouring with rain, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better anytime soon, as the rain's just getting heavier and heavier as time goes on. Michael F1 now with the fastest lap with a 133.5, as he's now right on the tail end of Tomo Tip Top. He's going to be pushing against him as he's now looking on the inside down towards turn 1. Tomo Tip Top is going to defend against the championship leader right now, but Michael F1 is able to find the space on the inside and still slip behind Tomo with a beautiful defense. Of course, no DRS to help Michael make the move, and Michael's going to have to slot in right in P11. Oh, we're now seeing F1 Farth, Michael F1 and Louis actually. Oh no, yeah, Louis ghosted. Sorry about that. F1 Farth right on the tail end of Angry Dutch Guy. You can see F1 Farth trying to find the space to go after the Dutch Red Bull driver. But Angry Dutch Guy just has a higher top end speed here. So F1 Farth's gonna have to pull something up his sleeve to make the move happen. But as it stands, Angry Dutch Guy is still in P5. F1 Farth currently at P6, and you can see the time start to go down a little bit. Says drivers are improving as time goes on. Wait, F1 Farth, even though right behind Angry Dutch Guy is going to be having a lot of slipstream down towards turn 1, does not look like he's going to be able to make it. And you can see that he's really struggling to try and keep up. He's trying to stay within the gap. Oh, but you can actually see F1 Farth just trying to get a better racing line right on the diffuser of the Red Bull driver. So you can see F1 Farth actually has a lot better pace compared to Angry Dutch Guy, but just can't really find the door open at this point. Oh, but he's now looking at it, looking on the inside here. F1 Farth gonna be braking, but he's gonna slot right behind Angry Dutch Guy here, coming into the stadium section. And you can see F1 Farth trying to squeeze his nose past the Red Bull, really struggling to make any sort of moves happen. As Mogi then improves it the fastest lap with a 130.2, doing very well actually for Mogi. And it looks like F1 Farth might have a run here on Angry Dutch Guy. Angry Dutch Guy using all of his ERS at this point, and F1 Farth just still staying right behind him here. So looks like the Aston Martin driver. Oh, and Angry Dutch Guy has a huge slip up through the beginning S's as he now loses P5. Richard now going around the outside, and he's gonna make the move happen. And Angry Dutch Guy now with that one mistake so far loses 2 positions. He's gonna try and fight it back against Richard, and Richard gives it. A good recovery for so far for Angry Dutch Guy, but it's not gonna be enough. And of course now we are right on board with our championship leader as Angry Dutch Guy has himself a 3-second time penalty due to corner cuts, as he now had a huge mistake through the S's, as he's now defending against Kittle, who is right on the tail end, and he's able to make the move around the outside. We have just seen him make the move up ahead. Angry Dutch Guy now, and you can see Michael F1 looking on the inside of Tomo. Can't really find the door, he can't really find the gap, but he's going for it now, and Tomo completely squeezes Michael, and he makes the move on Angry Dutch Guy. Good evasive maneuvers there from Michael F1. Angry Dutch Guy is just falling down further and further, as he has a little bit of a bump on Michael's rear tire, as he now goes into the pit lane due to a broken front wing, and will be making a stop on lap 11. Oh, but as you guys can see, we can actually still watch Mogi still keep within the distance of Marky here. And Marky doing so far so good on his set of tires. Of course, these wet compounds can last a pretty long time. But because this battle so far on the field, from what we can see, is going to be Tomo and Michael F1 as they start to go through the S's. And it looks like Tomo actually has a little bit more pace in the beginning of those S's, but on the exit, Michael actually comes out on top as the gap is now right around 5 tenths, making their way towards the stadium sector. Of course, that closed off area was actually the continuation of the Perotada corner, the infamous Perotada. But now we're actually just seeing half of the corner right here. And you can actually see Tomo still pulling away. Michael F1 trying to use everything that he has. I believe that is Woolsey who is currently evading. And Michael F1 now with this slipstream and the ERS down towards turn 1. Michael F1 makes his way into P8. Beautiful overtake there from Michael F1, who's racing pretty well here tonight for Ferrari. Of course, racing for the Drivers' Championship lead. Kittle and Richard swapping positions here down towards turn 4. And still, with these wet conditions, no DRS will be helping any of these drivers. We're also seeing F1 Farth right on the tail end of Stead coming into these S's. Stead actually has a really slow entrance, and that's going to be giving F1 Farth an opportunity to catch up by a tenth or so, as F1 Farth is now right on the tail end of Stead 6, but still cannot make it through for the time being. Stead 6 is actually catching up with Grimmy, actually, so we could be seeing a three-way battle for the podium position of third. But let's actually look at the gap from the leader here. Of course, Marquis did just improve his fastest lap to a 1:30.1, as Pablo is hit with yet again another time penalty. That's really going to mess him up here today. But now F1 Farth with the slipstream is making his way down towards turn 1 with a beautiful overtake of his own. We're now actually seeing Richard start to lose a lot of pace compared to Kittle. Michael F1 trying to catch up with Richard, as the Michael F1 is looking to get as many points as possible here tonight. But those tires, when it comes down to the long run, he is really going to struggle, as Woolsey is now out of this race here, ladies and gentlemen, and that is going to bring out the second safety car. Yep, especially with this track and these sort of conditions, it's going to make it very, very difficult for all of the drivers back at home. Hold on, guys, give me a quick second, just got to check something. Gonna go on mute. So give me a few seconds. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, looks like I got everything sorted, so sorry about that. But we're actually now seeing a lot of drivers enter the pit lane. Looks like a lot of drivers going on a new set of softs. Grimmy, however, is going out there on a new set of intermediates, and I think that's the right call here, actually. You can actually see the track is actually getting a little bit more, a little bit drier in a way. Of course, it's still pretty wet out there. You actually still see quite a bit of puddles, but Grimmy is going to be testing it out here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for our viewing pleasure, to see if he can actually get those intermediates ready for the race restart. Of course, he's hoping that the track's going to get a little bit drier, but it's going to be very difficult for him to actually complete that. So we're just going to have to wait and see if that strategy actually proves to be right. If not, he's going to be left behind in the dust, or should we say left drowning in the waves of spray from the rest of the drivers. So we're actually just going to keep an eye on him to see how he's doing, and how the track actually changes through the times. And the only person still yet to make a pit stop is actually going to be Kittle, so a bit of a different one for him, as he started in P4, currently up in the lead of this race, will be leading the safety car restart, as we are actually in the second safety car here today. We had the first one, which was a virtual safety car. Then we had another virtual safety car that was then upgraded to a safety car due to the crash of Paul's got Bull. And Grimmy is actually re-entering the pit lane. He thinks those intermediates are not ready yet, and he's going to switch on to a set of... It didn't even show it. Let's see, what tires is he on? Oh, he's actually going on another set of intermediates. So, don't know what happened with him there. So he had to make another pit stop, but I think it's, I don't know if it's actually the right call to make that other pit stop. I'm not too sure. We're gonna have to wait and see if that strategy comes out, but we're gonna be on board with Kittle, who is gonna be, once again, as I said before, leading the safety car restart. And we're just gonna be waiting from race control to say when the safety car will be in which lap. But again, guys, if you guys are new to the channel and you see yourself coming back from time to time, please hit that that subscribe button, as we are currently at 33 subscribers, trying to reach around 40 before the end of the season. 3 races, including this one, left in the season, so hopefully you guys are really nice to us. But also, I want to hear from you guys in the chat who is part of the notification bell squad, to see who actually has those notification bells on, where you'll be notified every single time we go live, completely free. Hit that button right there next to the subscribe button once you hit the subscribe. And it looks like the safety car is still going to be out for another lap, as we're going to be waiting for the other Alfa Romeo to reach the safety car queue. So today is actually going to be a very difficult day for these drivers, of course, not just because it's Mexico and it's wet weather, but the two main people that we're going to be focusing on here today is going to be RSI Marquis as well as Michael F1. Currently separated on the driver standings by 35 points. And if the race goes in Michael F1's favor, we could actually be seeing it confirmed here today. So we're going to have to keep a close eye out on this one. So ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are rooting for Michael F1, please let me know in the chat. I already know Alicia is. If not, then something has happened, or that's actually not Alicia. But also, if you guys are rooting for Marky, I want to hear from you guys in the chat. Of course, both of these drivers have had an amazing season from start to finish, and I was just lucky that I was here for the entirety of it, to be honest with you. So I want to give a big shout out to Steve and his group of admins for bringing me in and introducing me to some amazing people. So I want to say thank you guys so much for it. But now we have received it, ladies and gentlemen. Safety car is in this lap, as Kiddo will now make the drivers behind him nice and compact for the race restart. So let's see how this is gonna go. Hey Steve, how you doing, my man?
I mean, I've had better races, mate, but I'm doing alright.
Yeah, I actually just missed on what happened to you, actually.
Oh, I just lost under the safety car and hit the wall. That was it. I was out.
You're not the first, actually. I had a friend in another league that actually spun out.
Mogi's facing the wrong way. Mogi's facing the wrong way.
Oh, well, he had himself a little bit of a spin.
Yeah.
Yeah, from 3rd to 12th, a provisional 2nd, of course, as Kittle still yet to make his pit stop. Of course, in these wet conditions, it is not a mandatory pit stop at all. But if you want to see your tires reach the end, you're going to have to make a pit stop.
Kydell's struggling. I'd watch Mark going past now.
Yep.
Saving my dishes.
And Richard is out of this race as well after spinning around turn 2 here. So we're now going to go on board with Pablo Juarez to see exactly what happens here. But so far, Steve, how you been enjoying it?
Yeah, it's been good, mate. I was actually hoping for rain, but didn't work out for me in the end. But no, it's been good. There's been a lot of good defending. I think Tomo Tip Top had a really good race. Him and Michael had a good fight, and Angry Dutch Guy had a good fight with Farth for a little while as well. So no, there's been some good racing, despite the fact that most of this race has been under VSC or full SC.
Yeah, I was actually watching it as well. Tomo, oh, actually the VSC once again. Well, a lot of virtuals here today.
I think that's for Richard going out.
Yeah, most likely, because that was around turn 2, so that build up of debris, especially in these sort of conditions, gonna make it pretty dangerous for these drivers.
Yeah, it's not a good track for rain, to be fair, because there's a lot of big traction zones, and because we're changing the rules for season 5, there's 3 or 4 guys who are doing no traction either for the first time or just for the second time just now. So it's a really big sort of ask from those guys to make it round a hard track in the rain with no traction on for the first time.
Well, fair play to him, because everyone is doing pretty well. And Angry Dutch Guy now hit with a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, well, the virtual safety car. But also look at Kittle looking to make the move around the outside of RSI Markey down towards turn 4, now turn 5, and Markey just around the outside going to have a lot more momentum as he was able to follow that racing line there and retake the race lead. But if am I actually correct on this, Steve? If Michael F1 actually gets the race win here today, and Markey is out of the points, could we actually see Michael F1 actually get the trophy early on in the season?
I believe that might be the case. I would actually have to. I think we've got 2 races left after that. Is that correct?
Yeah, because you have 25 points actually, right? 25 points after watching a beautiful overtake from F1 Far.
No,
25 points in the race win.
Justin.
Right?
No, we have more.
Oh.
I think we're 29 points for race win because we give points to the top 15, not just the top 10.
Well, everyone currently, if they finish where they are, they will actually be getting points here today.
Yeah, exactly.
So 29 points, okay.
So I don't think he can, but it would be pretty difficult for Mark to bring it back. So it's likely Michael will win the championship in Azerbaijan unless something happens to either driver here today. And just whilst you were talking, by the way, with the battle with Mark and Cadell, Stead managed to get past Tomo Tip Top. And now we've got Farth on the back of RSI Markey.
Yep, and we're also actually seeing Michael F1 right on the tail end of Tomo Tip Top as well as Stead. But we also see Grimmy, who's actually been using those intermediates actually to battle out with Angry Dutch Guy, and I think it's a bit of an ambitious decision here to actually go with these set of intermediates, because you can still see all of those puddles as Grimmy then goes right on the tail end of Angry Dutch Guy, who took a lot of that curb there. Then Grimmy could be potentially looking at front wing damage after that.
So Jeff was saying on the radio that the inters and the wets should be pretty similarly paced. So it looks like Grimmy's making them work really well. Mogi's just left the session, so I don't know what happened to him.
He looks like he had a mechanical failure as he retires into the pit lane. But
okay.
So he's going to be taking a little bit of an early leave.
Yes, but yeah, it looks like the inters are actually working quite well. It's just whether they can last or not. But a lot of close battles out on track, which I'm enjoying actually. It's quite a nice little race to watch. I think I'm enjoying watching it more than I was racing in it, to be fair.
Well, that's the one thing about my job that makes it pretty enjoyable. But it looks like Angry Dutch Guy now goes into the pit lane to serve that drive-through penalty. But you gotta say, do you think this could be a good choice here from Grimmy? If Jeff says that the rain is starting to ease off where both the wets and the intermediates are around the same pace, later on we can actually see that the clouds are starting to be a little bit lighter above, so we could be seeing a dry end. So during that stint of those intermediates, I think Grimmy could definitely come out on top potentially, because he's actually catching Michael F1 right now.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job with these intermediates, and I think as the rain slowly comes down, if others do decide to come in for inters, Grimmy will go into first place and be quite happy. The issue is, will they last 20 laps of full racing? So it's going to be a really interesting one how it plays out, but you're right, he's knocked off a couple of tenths already in Sector 1 over Michael. We'll see what he's like through the S's, because this is where you'll see the grip level difference, and you can already see he's taken a tenth out of Michael just in the first two.
Made that 2 tenths. Close to 3 tenths as Michael F1 is hit with a time penalty, so that's going to ruin his chances of making it easy overtake on Tomo Tip Top here. But we actually also
missed... It wasn't easy
the
last time, was it?
No, it's not easy at all for for Michael F1. Tomo pulling a Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton, defending like a lion at this point. But yeah, you can see Grimmy is catching up to Michael F1 on those intermediates. So it looks like this could be Grimmy's race to just gain a lot of positions here, and you never know, potentially even hold off Tomo to give Michael F1 a better opportunity. But as you can see, intermediates for Grimmy, fastest lap at 129.
Yeah, he's doing a grand job. I hope he's not burning through them, but from the data I can see, he's doing a really good job, and the tyres don't seem to be being worked too hard. So we'll see how easy it is to get past Michael with the inters against the wets, as Michael lets him through.
Good sportsmanship right there from Michael. He's going to be giving Grimmy the opportunity to battle out with Tomo, as Michael was actually failed to do so in the previous laps. So we're going to be seeing if the interiors of Grimmy can actually make the move happen. But one thing about this track that makes it very unique to a lot of places, these S's, like you can probably compare it to Maggots and Beckett. You could probably even compare it to Sector 1 at Coda, maybe even Suzuka. But the one thing about this track that makes it a little bit different compared to a lot of them was that the changes of this track throughout the years. So I don't know if you knew this, Steve, but you see right now, as we're on board with Grimmy, this stadium section here. This actually was not here when the track was first created. If you look on the bottom right, is actually where you see the 3. The track used to continue on that straight and have that huge right-hander down towards that finish line, which of course was the full Battle Data corner. But once Herman Tilke actually tried to get the Mexican Grand Prix back into the Formula 1 calendar, he actually made it a little bit safer by adding the stadium section, making it half of the Battle Data, because we've seen a lot of drivers close to losing their lives on racing incidents, especially with Battle Data.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew that the stadium section was fairly new, but I didn't know it was in there for safety reasons. I just thought it became a part of it. So no, that's really interesting. No, I know that this track was used a long time ago. Was it used in the 60s and the 70s? Yep. Was that right? It
debuted in 1962, but then it was officially part of the Formula 1 World Championship calendar of 1963.
Okay, so it was in early, and then we went away, and I believe you're correct that Sergio Perez had a big influence in getting this track back on the calendar. I think it was Sergio Perez. Is that who you said?
Yep, Sergio Perez. Yes. Of course. And especially after he actually finished in the podium on the return to the Mexican Grand Prix, where we're actually now on board with Michael F1, who is currently run on the tail end of Tomo. So Grimmy was able to make the move, and Michael now currently in P7. But back to Sergio Perez. It's the same story with what happened with the Dutch Grand Prix. The hype of Max Verstappen has actually given Zandvoort the opportunity to rejoin on the calendar. It was supposed to be in 2020, but then due to the COVID-19 regulations, it was then swapped to 2021 because of the pandemic. But now we just saw Michael F1. He has finally made the move on Tomo. Definitely that battle lasted quite a bit of time. And you gotta say, Marky's gonna be thanking Tomo at the end of this race for holding off his championship rival here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's done him a world of favours in the first time Michael was stuck behind, and he's done him some more favours now. So now it's just a matter of how far up can Michael get, and with a bit of clean air, are those inters still faster than those wets behind?
From what it looks like, Grimmy is actually doing pretty well in those set of intermediates. However, I think the rain is starting to get a little bit heavier once again. But one person we haven't really actually talked about is going to be Kittle. Kittle's still out on his old set of wets, 22 lap old. So his tires are really going to be struggling here, especially against the new intermediate runner of Grimmy, who is right on the tail end.
Do you think Kittle will just try and go to the very end on these wets?
I mean, it is within the rules. Of course, in the dry situations, there would be a mandatory pit stop. But in these wet conditions, you don't have to make a pit stop. You can go from start to finish, and you can give your pit crew a little bit of a vacation.
Yeah, you can. And if there is another safety car, then that just works in Kittle's favour even further. By the way, just notice there that Albert, Angry Dutch guy's come in for a set of inters as well, so we'll see how he does. But no, like if another safety car comes out, then Kittle's in a really good position, and if he can make it to the end and still get a top 5 position, then good on him. I think he's done an excellent job. Before he crashed out, I would have said that Mogi was in for running of driver of the day. For me,
yeah,
this is just me personally. You get to choose.
Yeah, because Mogi was in P3, and of course for the Williams, they have been struggling in the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, they have. And then now for me, it would either be Kittle or Tomo Tip-Top, because Tomo Tip-Top's had a pretty good race, and he's held up some of the big guns for quite a while, but he always races fairly, so it'll be interesting to see.
Well, actually,
as Pablo Juarez is facing the wrong way.
I could actually potentially go with Louis, because with this track, especially with the track limits, we're seeing everyone struggle here today, especially with the top runners of Michael F1 Farth, as well as Dundrees, who's currently out, so, and even P5 of Grimmy currently. So we could go with Louis, who's had a pretty good race, and I was actually speaking to Louis a few days ago, and he was actually saying that he was actually struggling a little bit. He wasn't too confident here today, and you can actually see that he is losing positions, but his the cleanliness of his racing, to stay within the track limits and keep the pace as well, not too bad for the man. No,
I don't want to be unfair to Louis, but he has struggled in the races that we've had so far. He knows he's not the fastest driver out there. He's just trying to keep it clean and keep on the track, which is why he keeps getting invited back. But no, he's having a really good day out there today. He's racing well. He's racing clean. He may not be the fastest, but as you said, he's got no penalties and he's keeping it on the blacktop, which, as we can see, 6 drivers have managed to not do so far, including myself.
Yeah, so a lot of drivers really struggling right now in these conditions. Grimmy's now looking on the move potentially. He was closing in on Kittle's right rear tire. However, just can't really find the space. But in these S's, like you said, it's kind of a dead point between the wets and the intermediates. You can actually see that the wets are struggling while staying on the racing line. But I'm doing a lot better on the like off it, where with the intermediates, they do a lot better on the racing line, where off the racing line they can't really find the space. So I don't know if you've played Gran Turismo, Steve, but this kind of gives me the final license test where you're in the Porsche at Spa, where you're kind of having slick tires with the wets around. So I think that's how these intermediates are going to be feeling for a little bit. But Grimmy's able to clock into those set of intermediates, and he's actually able to make the move on Kittle down towards turn 1, as Grimmy and Kittle are still going side to side here, and this is actually going to be beneficial for Michael. He wants Grimmy to move up the grid, give these drivers into tough predicaments by going side to side, and actually help Michael F1 push up the grid. But yeah, back to the Gran Turismo statement, it's kind of gives me those sort of vibes, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've tried that mission a couple of times. I've never managed to complete it. It's really difficult. It just shows the levels of the drivers in real life when there's just one dry line and yet they're managing to stick to it.
Yep.
Because I find it overly impossible.
I was able to complete it, but do you know how long it took me to complete that mission?
I don't even want to know.
It was in the middle of the night. I'm gonna still tell you anyway if you know you don't want to.
No. I think it's going to be a disgusting amount of time. That's all.
So basically, it took me 2 hours just to get the silver medal,
Oof.
And I was going for an old gold run, so it took me 2 hours just to complete it once and get it silver, and then it took me another few hours to get it gold. And honestly, it was the worst pain in my assholes as I could imagine.
Sitting on that seat all that time, yeah. Keep an eye on Grimmy against Stead and Michael against Kiddo down this straight, by the way. They're all pretty close together. Michael's very close to the back of Kiddo now. He moves out, but not enough to make a move.
No, it does not look like it, but you can actually see the amount of spray. We're going to go on board with Stead here.
Oh,
and you can actually see the amount of spray that comes off these tires, but also with the tires at this point, with these wets, you can actually see that the rain is easing off a little bit. So these wets are going to be overheating a little bit too much, but you can still see those puddles. So easy way to cool down those tires, just run down those pedals off the racing line and you'll be good to go. But it comes down to if the drivers actually know that or not.
Oh, sorry, I was yawning. No, you're entirely right. It's, you know, you'd hope that these drivers have been driving, and especially driving with us for long enough, that they should know these things, but I noticed in qualifying, for instance, that some people were still going out on the medium, so they obviously hadn't checked the weather. So there is some things you don't know if people do know or not. As Michael racks up another penalty, these penalties are coming in thick and fast. I haven't actually seen what the penalties are. Do you see them?
Yep, I got them up right now. So we got 3 seconds for F1 Far, 3 for Stead, 6 for Grimmy, 3 for Kittle, 6 for Michael, 3 for Tomo, 6 for Angry Dutch Guy. This is going to get you 21 seconds for Pablo Juarez, and Slater with 5 seconds to his name.
So at the moment, Michael needs to get a move on Kittle quickly because he has to create a 3-second gap in order to finish ahead of him. He's safe behind Tomo Tip Top, but if he wants to make sure he stays ahead of Kiddo, he's going to have to get past him quickly, but he's not fast enough down these straights, and after that long straight, you really run out of overtaking opportunities until you get back to that straight on a track like this, which is one of the reasons that I'm not the biggest fan of it, but Michael, once again, struggling to get past people.
Yeah, so
which isn't like him.
No, it really isn't, but I think with the Mexican Grand Prix, it catches out a lot of drivers, and especially like you said with the traction control ruling to help out with the next game, and we're actually still seeing a few people use traction control, of course, but of course when it comes to the new game, the traction control is going to go right out the window, and it's going to be a new challenge for the new game. And especially from what we've been told about some of the, what are they called, content creators that actually make content of Formula 1, it actually turns out that these cars are actually easier to wheel spin compared to the predecessor. So it's going to be just stacking up the challenges and challenges. But one thing I actually have noticed, as Stead actually has a huge hiccup around the final corner, was able to save himself from not going into the wall, but that's going to be giving Grimmy the opportunity to make the move. Same goes with Michael F1 down towards turn 1. Both of the Ferraris going side to side in their battles. Michael F1 now on the inside of Kittle, breaks a little bit later on those newer set of wets. Of course, they're both still pretty old, but with the extra bit of life, Michael F1 moves up into P5.
And Grimmy up into P3, but both of them have to get that 3-second gap over the cars behind them because they've got their penalties. And just on a quick note, from a commentator's point of view, actually, for this new game, you were talking about the new game and some of the features. I hope you've seen the new feature of the sort of televised feature they put into spectator mode,
yes,
which should make it look more like a Grand Prix. Yeah, so I'm wondering how that's going to affect your role within SRM, and whether you think it will be a good thing for you.
Well, I think it would definitely be very beneficial because I've used OBS. I don't know if you know what that is, but OBS is kind of like for people back at home that don't know what it is. OBS is a software that you use on your computer, like a live streaming software, where you're able to put different graphics up on the screen. Makes it a little bit of a more enjoyable experience for people back at home. And the last time that I've actually had something like that on the game, like just the flat-out game, was Gran Turismo Sport, and that made it very, very fun for me. However, with Formula 1, all we see is, the only thing that we have is this menu on the top right, as you guys can see right now. This is the only thing that we see, and that's the only menu that we have.
I might be showing my age here, but I remember back on PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, there was Formula 1 games, and they had graphics and commentary that used to pop up.
Yep.
And that was the last game I can remember. So the fact that we're in 2022 with PlayStation 5s and the graphics and the looks and the physics of the games we have these days, for a broadcast or a spectator mode to not have that, especially considering how many people run on Twitch, how many leagues there are, commentators there are, for that to only just now be introduced still shocks me. I thought this would have been in a few years ago, even with the PS4. So no, I'm really looking forward to it coming in, and I think it'll enhance your broadcast and make your life a little easier, because your job's hard enough. You can focus only on one battle at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can see the times and you're saying, right, Stead's still right behind Grimmy, there's a battle going on, but you might not see that, although he's not FRL Louis catching Slater, and there might be a battle down the line. So it's difficult, your job as it is, but I think the broadcast mode will definitely make your life easier as well as more enjoyable for everybody watching.
Exactly, and that's what we try to strive here. But Michael doesn't have to worry about Tomo anymore, because Tomo's just got himself another 3-second time penalty. However,
he's got Kittle behind you.
He's still got Kittle, and I think we could actually even give Kittle potentially driver of today, because even if he has those time penalties, he hasn't made a pit stop, and it looks like he's going to go until the end. So this could be a very, very good result for him. So there's a lot of people that it could give to, and of course one thing that we are striving to do actually is to give people that are lower in the championship a little bit of more recognition. And I think Kittle might actually have it, to be honest with you, because Stead's 6 as well. He's had a good, a very, very good season, and he's actually joined midway. I believe replacing. Actually, no, he didn't replace Battle Z Mini, but he still had a good second half of the season, and especially that result back at Hungary a few weeks ago did very, very well then. But Kittle as well. If you look at Kittle right now, he's 18th in the championship, 41 points. He was defending against Michael F1, who is leading the championship. He's also ahead of people that are ahead of him of the championship, like Tomo Tip Top, Angry Dutch Guy. He's had an amazing race, and especially without having to make a pit stop and still going at it. I think it could be him.
So for me, it's between the guys in 6th and 7th, because also if you look at Tomo Tip Top, he's done 26 laps so far on his way. So for me, Kittle and Tomo have both done good jobs. They've both defended against really fast guys like Michael and Grimmy and some others, and they've both done really long stints on their tyres, more than anybody else in this entire race. So if you asked me to pick one, I don't think I could. I would give a point to both of them. They both had extraordinary races. It would be nice if Tomo was on the back of Kittle right now, because then we would give it to whoever won their battle. But you're the commentator, so it's you that gets to choose. But for me, it's between very, very, very close between those two guys.
Well, these two have been doing very, very well, especially at a track like this. And it's wet as well. As you can see, the amount of umbrellas and ponchos on the stands. I think we might have to actually break the rules here, actually, Steve.
Well, I mean, I'm admin. I'm allowed to, so.
Well, yeah, but I think I might actually have to break the rules here, because they both have had an amazing race, and I think they're pretty much equal in how they race. Tomo currently on 6 seconds of time penalties. He has had an amazing race, and like you said, defending against Michael F1 for that huge period, so really helped out Markey with that. Could go to him. Kittle, currently with 3 seconds, has not made a pit stop once, and actually was leading a safety car restart, so he was actually defending against Markey, F1 Farth, Grimmy, until he's currently down in P6. I think I'm gonna have to break the rules here, Steve. I'm gonna have to go with two drivers of the day here, because I can't choose which one, and they both deserve that recognition, because they've done an amazing race here today.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you, mate. There's been fast guys out there, and the whole point in us giving this extra point, as you said, was not to give it to these fast guys. You know, we could give it to Farth for working his way up the grid. We could give it to Grimmy for getting on the inters and working his way through. We know they're quick guys. They're going to get their points. So to give recognition to these two guys who are a little further down the championship and have both driven an incredible race, yeah, I couldn't split them, and I would give it to both of them as well.
But there's also one person that I haven't actually mentioned yet.
Who's that?
I forgot to mention you on last week actually, and you were
Yeah, no,
happy
I
to
was
tell
pissed
me
as hell at you.
you
Yep.
actually had yeah, like I'm so sorry, my friend, because the thing is, you told me, in all respects, you told me, okay, we're actually gonna give these the lower drivers a little bit of recognition. I didn't say you because I think of you as like one of the top people. That's why I didn't like say anything for driver of the day for you, because you're like quite up there.
Yeah.
And
No, it
Albert,
was
yeah,
the
and like Albert, yeah, he's crap. He's down there. That's why I gave him driver. I'm joking. I'm joking. Love you, Albert.
I mean, where am I? I'm in ninth. Where's Albert? Albert's behind me, so yeah, okay, I'll give you that. But no, it was the first time this entire season that I've thought, you know what? I drove an absolutely great race. I stayed out of trouble. I worked my way up the grid fairly. And I thought, oh, Justin's going to give that to me, and then I saw Albert's name popped up, and I was a little pissed. So
yeah, but
it's
honestly,
okay though.
you
No,
had an amazing race. So
yeah, I think I went from 16th to 5th, and I had a spin.
19th,
I had one spin at the beginning.
19th to 5th,
19th, yeah, I didn't qualify. To 5th, so yeah, I thought it was fair. I managed to pass some people. I managed to stay out of trouble, and I thought I did good. But no, Albert drove a great race last week, and he was so unfortunate in what happened because
yeah,
it's not often Albert's fighting for the lead and doing as well as he was. So the fact that he was, I take my hat off to him. He was doing a great job.
yeah.
I don't know, maybe if it was home Grand Prix.
I did that actually. Yeah.
I don't know if it was home Grand Prix and he wanted to do better for
Exactly.
that, but he got unlucky at the end.
Exactly, but we have a yellow sector 1, and I think that's actually a little bit of a shake-up from Pablo Juarez, who has really been struggling here tonight. I was actually in a party earlier with Pablo, and Michael F1 with another 3 seconds. That's really gonna mess him up for the Drivers' Championship. But
at the moment he'll only drop behind Kittle. But he's going to drop behind Kittle, but he's still safe from Tomo tip top. But it's not like Michael to be getting so many penalties. The rain has affected him quite badly today, I have to say. But he's still putting a good performance to climb up. And I think 6th would be a fair result considering he was quite far down the pack early on. And the rain doesn't suit controller players, whether you've got medium traction on or not. It really doesn't suit the controller guys.
Oh, yep.
But I also have to take my hat off to Michael. I was speaking earlier with some of the other admin, and we thought that, and it's no offence to him, because he is on controller, we didn't know if Michael would go ahead and agree with the no traction for next season, but he's been putting in the practice and he's ready to rock on to next season, controller or not, with no traction on, so I take my hat off to him as well.
Yeah, so a lot of these drivers actually doing very, very well, fighting against the elements to just keep the car down and just have an overall good race. But with this track as well, it's a lot of history behind it, and we're just breaking history as well, as we are here once again for SRM Esports. But when it comes to the calendar, actually, I actually saw that you've actually released the calendar of Season 5 for the new game, so we're going to actually run through that, actually, as we watch RSI Marquis start his final lap. So, the season will start on the 13th of July.
I'm glad you got that, because I think your dates are the other way around, aren't they?
No, we go date, month, then year.
Oh, do you? You're not like
remember,
those silly Americans.
We're practically British.
That's a good man. Good man. But anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Well, also look, just so you know, it's guaranteed. I say football. I don't say soccer. I don't say soccer. I say football.
Soccer.
Okay, that's how it is. But so we start the season on the 13th of July, where it will be actually where we are here today, the Mexican Grand Prix. Then the week after that, we'll be having the French Grand Prix, then Hungary for round 3, and then Monza for round 4, which will be a sprint race event as well. We'll be having a break on the 10th of August. Then on the 17th, we'll be at Singapore, then Azerbaijan, Saudi Arabia, and then Spain for round 8, and then the newly additioned Miami Grand Prix for round 9. Then on the 28th of September, which will be the Monaco Grand Prix. Then we have the British, Australian, Canada, and then Imola, which will be a sprint race then. Then we have a break around there. But also a fun fact, I'm actually going to be watching for the next month of November of Abu Dhabi and Austria, because that point would actually be my 1-year anniversary of doing commentary. But we're actually going to pause on that. We're going to stay on board with RSI Margie here, ladies and gentlemen. who started in second place actually, and was able to take the race lead early off of Michael F1, and has come across the line here tonight. A Red Bull crossing the line like we saw in the real life scene with the fastest lap on the final lap. Our side Markey takes the race win here in Mexico, ladies and gentlemen. F1 Farth lining up in P2 with Grimmy. So far we're waiting for the penalties to come through. Stead is actually going to be finishing in the podium here tonight. Both Grimmy and Kittle finishing off the top 5, with Michael F1 down to P6. And then with Tomo crossing the line as well, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Both Kittle and Tomo tip top tonight's commentators driver of the day, as Michael F1, okay, make note of that, Michael F1 was hit with a 20-second time penalty after the flag. Yeah, so he was hit with a 20-second, so Michael actually finished in 6th, Tomo finished in 7th, with Angry Dutch Guy going to be the last driver to cross the line, and Ace Slater, Pablo Juarez, and Louis all one lap behind the race leader. But they still had an amazing race, and at this point, don't even need to be upset about where they finished, because at least they survived and got into the points.
It was a really good job by Markey. He kept it clean. Angry Dutch Guy trying to reverse across the line by the looks of things. Don't quite know what's happened there.
He's trying to finish in style. He's saying hi to the fans. He's trying to be Checo right now, saying hi, but he's gonna be finishing in very historic proportions. But that's gonna round up the Mexican Grand Prix here, ladies and gentlemen. An amazing race here today for SRM Esports. Never disappoints. Gotta say, F1 Farth actually gained the most positions, of course, so getting the Codemasters driver of the day, but the commentators driver of the day going to both Tomo Tip Top as well as Kittle for having an amazing race, as Markey now takes the top step for the Red Bull team, like we saw in the real life scene. Red Bull on top at Mexico. But that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. Markey actually closes the gap between him and Michael F1 for the Drivers' Championship. Hasn't taken the lead of it yet, but 2 rounds left. Who's going to be the one to come out on top, ladies and gentlemen? Azerbaijan next week, and then on the 29th, we'll be ending at Austria. So keep your calendars and those notifications on, so you'll be notified about when we get to there. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it. Maximum points for Markey, 30 points in the bag for the Red Bull driver. But until next time, lots of love and stay safe, everybody. We'll see you next week.